Speaking of people not nominated, let's deal with Michael Moore a little bit. You were one of the first people, I think, in town to actually see the movie and write about it. And we're talking about Roger and Me. And Michael was not nominated. Dealing just with that aspect, that was a fairly controversial decision. And I tend to be from the school, sort of the Fred Zimmerman school of documentary. I like straight, accurate sort of documentary, but then I really liked Roger and Me. I thought it was a fun movie. What do you think about the lack of a nomination for Michael's film?
I was surprised, given what I knew about the documentary committee in terms of its general conservative air in the past. The best documentary of 1988, Thin Blue Line, wasn't nominated either, and I thought it was certainly possible that Michael's movie wasn't going to be nominated. There was some criticism of the film the last couple months prior to the nominations that I think affected its chances. I think had the nominations come out earlier, November, December, that it probably would have not only been nominated for Best Documentary, but maybe even Best Picture. There was some talk along those lines. I thought Roger and Me was one of the 10 best movies I saw last year. I really liked it. I really loved the central idea behind it, and that's that GM cares more about profits than people. And I think in that regard he was really dead on with that criticism. I was troubled by some of the methods he used in terms of moving around the chronology. When I reviewed it, though, I felt that was subordinate to his message. Some critics didn't. Some people were really troubled by that. Some people who are traditionalists who like a real straightforward documentary, just the facts, I could see where they would be troubled by that.
To me, just viewing it, the most powerful moments of Michael's film were not the ones that he crafted. For example, the final scene where he cuts Roger Smith's Christmas message with a eviction. That was not that powerful. There was some footage in there that was very powerful. I can remember specifically one of the eviction scenes, and there was a family being thrown out, and there was a young child, a boy about 3 years old. And I remember him sitting out on the corner while the furniture and things were being moved out of the house, and he was just there very tight. And his mother called him from the house, and he just said, "What?" And the sound of his voice, the look on his face, the sense of, here's this 3-year-old child who has already been failed. He's only 3 years old, and already things are falling apart for him. That was so powerful, and that is what a documentary can do. I mean, mind you have to shoot 10 hours to get 30 seconds, but that was so, for me, that was, there were two things that were powerful in the film. One was that scene, and the other was the interesting juxtaposition between the rabbit being killed, when the whole audience went, "Ooh, yuck, oh, how terrible," and then a person is shot 10 minutes later, the audience doesn't even blink, because we see a lot more people killed than rabbits, I guess. But that, to me, that's the power of the documentary. Where some of the other things sort of more are showbiz, I guess. I mean, like that last scene, that's showbiz, that sort of thing. But the power of a documentary is the simplicity so often. Just this moment of reality that comes right out of the blue. All of a sudden, it strikes you because it is such a human moment.
I thought another very powerful part of that was when the truck plant closed down one of its lines, and they show the last truck going on, and people are clapping. And then one guy breaks the mood and says, "What are you clapping for? We just lost our jobs." And I remember the first time I saw that, I was just, it was a very moving sort of thing. And I think things like that, another thing I really liked about the movie was the way it was edited. Putting music in at certain times, juxtapositioning the life of the rich versus the life of the poor, was really well done. A lot of fast editing, really good cutting. The two editors who did that movie were first-time film editors, and I thought the way they did it was really remarkable.
Yeah, it was Wendy Stansler?
Wendy Stansler, who was from Flint, and Jennifer Beeman. And they did a really super job.
Do you think that Michael Moore is going to have a long future in the movies, or do you think that this may be sort of the high point that he hit and fell back from?
I don't know. There's no question that he's very talented and has a really good wit and a good mind. I think it'd be really interesting to see what happens from here on out. He knows Flint as well as any place because he's lived here his whole life. And I think it'll be interesting to see when he gets into things that he's not as familiar with. He may do really well, he may not. I don't know. Just to have a $200,000 documentary that makes $7 million is kind of a high point as it is. But it'll be really interesting to see. I can't really foretell his future. Really, I don't know. But I think he's very talented, and he certainly has the wherewithal to go places.